What's going on, everyone? Sid Gordon here with the Core Medical Podcast. And like always, my amazing friend Mel Chancey is beside me on my birthday. He never misses a year.
On your birthday, bro. 45 today.
That's right. That's
Today,
right.
and we were all out here we got an amazing few days set up here, and Saturday being the kicker of them all.
I'm very excited for a little boat day, a little foil day, and having my loved ones around me.
It's a blessing.
There's not a day that goes by that I don't have gratitude for my circle of friends.
Amen.
And with that being said, about 5 years ago, I was in Columbia, South Carolina, and got to meet a gentleman named Joe Wilson.
Big Joe.
And for those of you that don't know Joe Wilson, he is full of life. Everybody's attracted to him. If you don't like him, something's wrong with you.
You did something.
You did something, and I hope it's not anything bad, because if he decides to come and get you, you're in deep shit.
Still big.
He's a big boy.
He's still big.
So, Joe, thanks for coming on, brother.
Big.
Thank you, buddy, and happy birthday, brother.
Thanks, dude. So, we do these podcasts that become, really successful, a lot of exposure. I love to just have all different walks of life on the show, Mel.
Yeah.
As we always do. We have just an amazing group of patients that come on, and friends and family. And, Joe has just an amazing story. Joe's the type of guy that just goes about life, doing his thing, never ruffling feathers. And he is the most amazing person at auctions.
I got to tell you, when I met you, Joe, 3 years ago at our first Core Medical Military Appreciation Weekend, and you were the auctioneer, and we got to talk and spend some time together. And, I was like, man, Joe's big. Look at the calves on him. He's a big dude, right? And it wasn't until just recently I got to find out about your powerlifting career. Because, we didn't always have that much time to talk, especially at these events, So I just recently...
Yeah, I wouldn't say career.
Well, you powerlifting and stuff. Listen, anybody that dedicates that much time, right?
Few things. Yeah, I've done a few things.
Yeah. So why don't you get in a little bit to your story for us and the viewers and stuff of you? We know you're a pillar of South Carolina. We want to hear all that, how you started and your journey and everything.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so grew up in a small town in South Carolina. Went to school at Furman University up here in Greenville. Played ball there for 4 years. Kind of really got into the more so of the lifting stuff right around my junior and senior year. Made a couple of trips to old West Side Barbell to see old Louis Simmons up there.
Man, you're really bringing it back now, Louis Simmons.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah. Who? Tell him, Joe.
Yeah, that was one of the funny things. Everybody took their spring breaks and their Thanksgiving holiday and their Christmas stuff, and everybody's like, "We're going to the beach. We're going on vacation." I always drove up and spent a week at West Side Barbell lifting with those guys, and I did that for years. Ended up coaching at Furman for a couple years, strength conditioning. Ended up moving down to Clemson there, doing the same thing, and then did a couple meets, did some USPF. I don't even think they're in anymore. Did some WNPF, drug-free stuff. Ended up in '99, moved to Columbia to open a restaurant. Over the course of the
How did
next
that transition?
18 years.
How'd that transition happen? You go from being a strength and conditioning coach at a major university, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, let's just start feeding people.
Yeah, I don't know what I was. No. So when everybody came to Clemson, there was a big coaching change. Joey Batson, who is still there, which is a testament to his knowledge and work ethic. Because man, that was a rough life back in '99 for a strength coach. If you had a carousel of coaches coming in, basically they brought everybody else in, and you were gone, no matter how good or what you did.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was all new coaches down at Clemson, and I really didn't have an area to go to move up there. I was doing some interviews out in the Midwest and stuff like that, and my dad had a stroke. And so then I kind of reevaluated kind of what I wanted to do. Did I want to be in that possible carousel of coaches that come and go and moving away and doing all of that? And I really wasn't thinking about like family per se, but I was thinking more, my mom and dad, kind of like where I was going to play in that support role. And so I wanted to stay close. And I had a friend of mine at the time that was in a restaurant business and corporate, and he wanted to get out of corporate. And I stayed at his house after I would work. I was coaching Clemson and then still working my bartending gig on Saturday nights after games. And he was just like, "Hey man, let's open up a spot." And we came down to Columbia, found a spot, and literally 2 days after my birthday in '99, and July 16th, we bought the place, opened it up 28 days later, and ended up opening up 5 total.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had Ben Bunn on the podcast a couple of days back, and we were kind of comparing the restaurant business, very similar to being a successful gym owner. Those are probably 2 of the hardest businesses that you can probably run. Running a successful gym or running a successful business is like hand in hand, because, we were talking about like the level of like employees, not saying anything bad about that, but like it's really, really hard to have that long-term loyalty and for them to see the growth potential, right? Because it doesn't matter if you're a trainer, right? And you're the only person training. You only have 8 hours a day to make your money, 10 hours a day if you're really lucky, and you're kind of capped out. In the restaurant business, it's seasonal most of the time, down here especially. And then you're serving tables, and it's a revolving door. It's like so difficult. And I said to him, I said, from my point of view, if you can run a restaurant or if you can run a gym, you can run anything.
Yeah, it's I was very fortunate that probably my tenure of managers probably average was 6 or 7 years. I mean, I had people that were with me from the first restaurant all the way through the 5th. I had servers that served, while they were in school, while they were in grad school. I had servers that worked for me 5 or 6 years. So I was very fortunate to have a pretty stable group of core employees. I was very fortunate in that. They worked extremely hard, and I was very grateful for them.
So what would you contribute that to? Because I know my staff has been with me for 12, 13 years, but
yeah.
You're the magnet, bro.
I think treating them right, and also too, me and my business partner, we were kind of like I kind of hate to say this, but we were kind of like their father figures away from their home. If they were from Florida or North Carolina, Georgia, somewhere where they couldn't get back, I mean, we helped them move. We helped them fix their cars. We helped them, we just did all these things that kind of like pseudo parents away from their home. And I mean, I still talk to them. I still text them. I still say hey to them. I still see them around town, which is awesome. They have their families now. I mean, I've got, you want to talk about feeling old. I mean, I've got servers that I hired when they were like 17, 18 years old. They got 2 kids. I'm like, it's kind of, I kind of have to laugh that part off, but
it shows your character owning a business, Joe, like that. I owned a big gym for a few years. We only got to enjoy it for 2 years because a big businessman came in, and we weren't selling the gym. And a big businessman came in. My wife was running. I was traveling, and said, "I want to buy the gym. I know who your husband is. I know what he did here. This is what I want to give you guys for the gym." And at first we thought it was like, something was weird and everything. But his son was a member at our gym and wanted the gym. And the guy had, huge money and didn't care what he paid for it. So when little Mel called me up and told me, I said, "I'll be home Monday. We just sold the gym." She goes, "What do you want? What am I going to do now, babe?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't go smoke some bongs and sit in the pool. I don't know. I don't know what you're going to do. But we're selling this gym. We're never, mom and pop gym." And it's, it's what I'm getting at is when you're in that position, the restaurant business, the gym business, our core medical with Sydney and us being the front guys, you have to have that persona, and you have to have that love for people, right? And not just look at them as, you know, a number or an employer or whatever. Like you said, you still talk to the people. Their kids now have, you know, they have kids and stuff, and you're seeing that and everything. And that's what makes a successful owner. You know, we're somewhere a little bit earlier, and we're somewhere we were used to eat all the time.
Oh yeah.
And it got changed hands, right? It got changed over to this new owner, and the new owner is not being cool to all these people in this spot, right?
He's like screaming at the staff that works there. I walked in there the other day, and he was yelling at this woman who's been serving me for like 4 years, and we had some uncomfortable words. But you know, what that kind of triggers is making me think about the ripple effect. You know, starting from the owner all the way down, right? So, if I had a revolving door of staff, the patients that were coming through core would have a different patient coordinator every 6 months, every 12 months, every year. What would be going through their head if I didn't treat my staff, you know, right, and had a new Brandon which is impossible. You can't get a new Brandon every 6 months. But if I had a new Brandon or a new Mike, you know, and I couldn't keep anyone happy, I just don't think it would be that successful.
It's not, because that goes a long way, especially with the patients. They get so comfortable with somebody. You know what I mean? Just think about it. You know, you're trusting somebody in our business with their health, and they get very comfortable. And then if, you know, it's never happened with us, thank the Lord. But if you have to tell them 6-8 months later, hey, you don't have Brandon no more, right? And the people are going to go, what happened? And then you're going to have to tell them like a story. Well, you know, it just didn't make it work. If that was a revolving door like that, people wouldn't feel comfortable. They would know something was wrong. But when they've had, you know, I mean, I'm with you almost 7 years. You're in business 15 years. Mikey Earl there the longest. I talk to patients you had from 13, 12 years ago that I happen to see at our events and talk to them. And they're like, we've been with Mikey since day one. Oh my God, what a great guy. He's always, you know, that's the thing that goes along.
We actually still have our first patient.
Really?
Our first patient that came through the door is still a patient at core.
Amazing. I'm not surprised they had to hear that.
Yeah,
it's hard to keep building that level of trust, like you said, Mel, when you're talking about your health. This is not, you know, this isn't an item on the menu. You know, this is something that is very personal, you know, because, you know, when you do talk to the PAs and stuff, I mean, there's personal stuff that you've got to discuss if you're being 100% completely open and you're wanting to benefit, you know, this process to benefit you the most. You've got to be honest, and sometimes there's some tough questions to answer. You know, especially for guys, if you're talking about, you know, your sexual health or whatever, you know, and you got to be honest with it. And if you had that revolving door and you had to go through that same process over and over and over, man, that might be tough for some people.
You had to keep explaining it right. And you're right about that, Joe, because, you know, be dealing with so many patients in the last, you know, almost 7 years of being next to Sydney and stuff, you know, it is a lot for a guy to come out and say that, you know, and we talk about stuff. You know, me and Sydney laugh because, you know, I got a lot of nicknames in life, and one of them that I got nicknamed through a lot of patients' wives were like, hey, we got a nickname we call you around the house. And I'd say, what's that? And they'd say, oh, we call you the dick doctor, right? And
it's like multiple. It's like multiple patients.
Multiple. I mean, you know, when I was ripping
and they don't know each other.
Right, they don't know each other. When I was ripping and running for the last 6.5 years, really helping to build our brand and to bring, you know, all the people that I've known for so many years aboard, you know, and trusting core and stuff. I would get somebody, Joe, they would FaceTime me, and I've never met them, just through a DM, and I'd spend, you know, we always laugh. I would always spend, if you came in with me back in the day, you got 25 minutes of my time every time. So when I sent that patient to the intake coordinator, the patient
he used to
coordinator,
put me to voicemail a lot more back in the day.
Yeah, so me and Sid would be out. I'm like, Sid, I gotta go. I'm taking a call. So I would explain to him everything. So when the patient coordinator was signing him up, he just had to dot the I's and cross the T's. It was a slam dunk, right? And I prided myself on that. I wanted to let Joe Wilson know on the other line, who I maybe never met, exactly how we do things. Total transparency, right? And it works that way, you know. And so, you know, the first time I got it, I get a FaceTime call from the patient that I've never seen before in life, except maybe on Instagram. So I answered it. I'm at the house. I answered, and he says, "Oh, Mel, I hope I'm not bothering you." I said, "No, I'm good, man. How are you?" "I'm good, good. My wife just wanted to jump on here and really say hello to you and thank you and stuff." And the wife gets on, and I said, "Hello, and she goes, "Thank you, Mel, for giving me my husband back." And I said, "Well, he was always there, right? But without the help, he just, he needed
Yeah.
he needed that boost of testosterone, right?" And she goes, "I got to tell you something." She goes, we got a nickname for you around the house." And I'm like, "Oh boy, this ought to be good, right?" And then she tells me, right, and my wife's on speakerphone or seeing it on FaceTime, I'm sorry. And she goes, "We call you the Dick Doctor." And I started laughing, right? So then months later, a few more times, and then somebody else's wife tells me this. I'm like, man, I can't let that title stick. Right?
We're gonna put it on his door in his office.
I'm like, listen, I'm kind of like the old days, the former Hell's Angel leader, and now I got this new title, right? And here it is, and they're like the Dick Doctor. I'm like, well, we won't tell this story to too many people, but
Well, a lot of people are gonna know it now.
yeah. But,
That sounds like a movie all in of itself.
yeah.
Hey, so Joe, you've been super great supporting the core team over the years. I met you through a mutual friend of ours who's an amazing guy. He's done wonders for me, a lot for me. Referred a lot of patients to core, been a mentor, in a lot of different directions. And let me ask you something. Can you talk about your experience going through the process from core, like your first time, and like what you suggest for patients when they are coming aboard?
Yeah. So, for me, it was, I don't know how to just say, for anybody thinking about doing this or anything and may have any apprehensions. And I mean, we all know some of the stigma that somebody might have doing this. I tell everybody, I go, you do not know how bad you feel until you feel good.
Oh, that's great.
And when you get people that, it was one of those things I always felt, because I was a big guy, I was strong, I was eating somewhat healthy. I'm like, I'm good. And the thing is, don't get your blood work. I wasn't getting my blood work done. And that was huge. And finally, when I was talking about joining core, their whole deal, y'all's whole deal was, hey, look, first of all, there's a book called The Blood Never Lies. And that was like, hey, let's get your blood work done. Let's see what's going on. And when I was going to my GP, it was one of those things, you get your blood work done, wasn't a big full panel. You get, 5 minutes of the doctor flinging through a piece of paper going, and to give you a suggestion like, whatever your hemoglobin's high, give blood.
Yeah.
And that was it, and you were left to decipher any of this stuff. And I was fortunate to know of resources and to have some, background knowledge to be able to look that stuff up. And then when I was presented with you guys, and the onboard process comes on, get your blood work done. This is how we're going to do it. And then, I get a telephone call and get to do a Zoom call. And, I was kind of like, I've never really done this. I wonder what this is going to be like. One of these things. It's like, no, it's like, I started asking a bunch of questions. So I knew she took a lot more time than what but I was like 40 minutes and I mean, literally I had my blood work printed out and we went line for line, every single item. And, hey, this is what I suggest for this, and I'm taking notes because I'm like a nerd, and I'm taking notes out here to the side. And then we get done. And next thing you know, I get an email 15 minutes later with a full recap of everything we talked about. And so from a patient standpoint, I don't have anybody to blame except me.
Mm-hmm. And you took those notes for no reason.
Because you all had them, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding with you.
It looked like a poorly graded paper.
They're good, man. I can't take any credit for that. Brianna my head PA in Massachusetts. I don't know if you've ever done a telehealth with her before.
Yeah, that's who I had.
And she put this whole process together. Like, I had nothing to do with that at all whatsoever. I can't hold anyone in the medical field to standard, because who am I? Yeah, you know, I'm a guy that builds relationships and brings people to the table and leads them to the water, you know, and they make them drink. And without that, and I stay out of that. I mean, how often do you hear me speaking to anyone on the medical staff telling them what to do? Never.
No.
I just stay out of it, you know?
And you know what's so amazing, Joe, right? Like you talked about it, you see the blood work. You know, I always say, you said the blood don't lie. The blood tells a story, right? And it's amazing when I talk to somebody and they are working with their general practitioner and they say, oh, I just got all my blood work done. Okay, you know, was anything wrong in it? And they go, nah, he told me this was a little off. And I go, well, let me see your blood work. I'll look at it for you. I don't have it. I go, you never got a copy of it? You didn't get to see it? No, I'm just listening to what the doctor said. Well, what did he tell you on your testosterone? Said, okay, I'm in the range. I go, brother, the range is 295 to 950. That's like the cable people. We'll be at your house from 8 in the morning, tell you that at night, right?
Yeah.
So I'm home all day, right? Anyways, I go, you don't know, right? You don't know? No. Well, call up your GP and tell him you want that blood work. Oh, can I do that? Yes, you paid for that. The doctors work for you, right? If you don't like the doctor, fire him. You're not stuck anywhere. And it's amazing that people don't know that. And then they call and get that blood work and see it on a piece of paper and say, Mel, can we send it to you? Absolutely. Oh, your testosterone's 302. Yeah, you're in the range of the low, of bottomed out. Yeah. He didn't tell me that, right? Of course he didn't. So it's so important. If you guys are if anybody's listening and you're taking something out of it, you don't have to be a core patient. Get your blood work back to you. You want to see it. Have them email it to you. Have them look at it so you have it on paper in your phone and you can show what your body's doing over the years. I can go back to 2009, right when I came home from the penitentiary, I'd get my blood work done, and I have that still in my phone.
And you know, for a lot of people, and I'm sure Joe's one of them, you know, every time he gets his blood work done, he's trying to make it better and better and better and better. And, you know, the beautiful part about the medical team is that, like, there's very few patients, as they're getting older, their blood work isn't getting better because of the detail that you know, that we're paying close, you know, and it's small little tweaks.
And how important is that? You know, I'm 55, he's 45 today. Joe, what are you?
I'm 51.
Okay, so we're right. And how many guys do I know, and we know, whose blood work just gets worse and worse and worse because they can't see it to figure out what they need to change. The doctor, I'm going to put you on a statin. Come to find out, I look at the guy's cholesterol, and nothing was even wrong with the cholesterol. His HDL was good, was great. The LDL was good, but the guy put him on a statin because the overall was 10 points too high. You didn't even need to go on a statin and hurt yourself with that poison medication, right? So you have to know the blood work.
That's exactly, I mean, honestly, kind of what years ago pushed me when the suggestion came for core was I had my GP and he put me on a statin or recommended a statin. And, you know, I was like, man, I don't know. You know, I wasn't as versed as I am now with that stuff. And, you know, I had family history of it, my dad and my mom. And so I did a statin for 6 months and did my blood work again. And of course it jacks your ratio all up because it doesn't discriminate.
Liver enzymes high.
Yep, liver enzymes high, and ended up tearing my bicep for the second time. This time I tore it off of my shoulder instead of down around my elbow. And that was a common, I don't know, but it's definitely something that happens when you get on statin. 100%. That can happen. And, you know, so now I walk around with a Popeye arm, but looks cool.
I just did it, Joe. I just did it right here. Like you
I
can
know
see
you
it.
did.
Yeah, right up in there. I did it.
I saw that. Yeah.
Crazy because I drank the Kool-Aid for 6 years because I have a stent. So I listened to the cardiologist who's a family friend of ours, and he was like, Mel, we got to get this LDL down. Then after I was feeling shitty, Joe, that whole time on it and not wanting to be on it, but I didn't know any better. I started doing my own research and finding out that You have men out there with LDLs that they want you under 99. You got men out there with LDLs in the 50s and 60s that are fully have blockage. Then you got men out there with LDLs in the 200 range that don't have any blockage. A dear friend of mine, Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, who's ripped and ran all his life, right? Goes and gets it checked out, gets like I did with my arteries, gets the CT scan. He's undetectable, which means you're 30% and under for the plaque, right? There's a guy that did everything all his life. LDL's always been 150, 175. It's not the LDL, it's the inflammation in the body. But the statin business came in and said, we can put so many people on statins because they kept dropping the numbers over years. Our grandparents was 300 and under, we're 200 and under, nobody could hit it, right? So the biggest date rape thing out there is the statins, and it's terrible.
I got to tell you something too. If you look at your blood work, anyone take out your blood work and look at the ranges on your blood work. There is nothing on that piece of paper that has a range from 300 or 250 to 1,000.
Right.
Right? There's nothing that has a 700-point range other than testosterone, right? Two reasons. Number one, they put that huge range together because no one knew what the hell they were doing. These GPs didn't know what the fuck they were doing with testosterone, and they wanted to just have this wide open range. And unless you are in massive depression, unless you have no sex drive, you can't play with your kids, which is like that 105, 200 level, you're just miserable. I don't care who you are. If you have a testosterone of 84, 90, it is the worst feeling, right? Then, all right, take some testosterone. But what people aren't thinking about is when I started in this business, you had to educate the hell out of people because they thought it was steroids, right? It's not steroids. Testosterone, guys, makes you healthier. It does help you stay alive longer. It's not like it was before in the past. This is real medicine. There's a reason why Cleveland Clinic now is saying, wow, your heart's a muscle. To avoid that atrophy, you might want to take some testosterone.
100%, Sid. And we talk about this on so many podcasts, Joe, because, with the patients and stuff, and a guy would be talking to me on the phone. He goes, my wife don't want me to take steroids. And I go, either do we, right? Testosterone is a hormone, and it's tested for in the bloodstream. There's no test for Anadrol, Decadurabolin, Tren, D-bol, right? That's the anabolic steroids that came in later, right? And that's why they're called anabolic steroids. Testosterone, estrogen, FSH and LH, all hormones in your body. There's a test for them. So we tell them that, yes, testosterone got that bad label because somewhere down the line, a zillion years ago, bodybuilders figured out if you raise your testosterone levels crazy, you can really rebuild the body when you're training and stuff, So, it's.
But that's through abuse. Too much of anything is not good.
Too much water, right? You can die on water, right? Really, I mean, really.
You can die on water.
Yeah, you know that. You can die. You can drink so much water that it strips all your minerals. Your heart will stop. Really, I don't know if you knew that, Sid.
No,
You looked at me like, 100%. Joe did because I heard him chime in. Yeah, you got to. You drink so much water. It's not that you're full and you're like going to explode. You're ripping all the minerals out of your body, all the magnesiums, the potassiums, everything. You could cause your heart to stop.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's anything in moderation. But like
I'm 45 years old today, and I just learned something new, guys.
Man, glad us old timers taught him that, Joe. We got some wisdom with us in the grays.
So, Joe, back to what you were saying about a patient coming aboard and talking to us for the first time and going through that blood work. What other suggestions do you have if you're kind of on the fence there?
Man, I would say, for me, it would be one of those things. I would be like, if you're even thinking about this, just go. You're going to you want your blood work done one way or another. Yeah. So get the guys to do it. Let them take a look at it. And to be honest, I have enough confidence in you and your staff. I would say do your first phone call. Yep. Listen to the PA. Listen to what she's got to say. And if that's not something that clicks in your head, do a little bit of your own research. And the thing about it is you guys are, and we've talked about this before, like you're selling, I don't know how to say it, like you're selling pre-health, like you're selling your health to where you don't become chronic something another. Like down the road, you have chronic hypertension or you get some kind of chronic diabetes. You're doing something. You guys are being preemptive and keeping people healthy and keeping people active. The better you feel, I mean, before I got on this, like I said, I felt like I felt decent until I got on a protocol. And then I was like, oh, this is how I remember this feeling. Now, it was a long time ago, but wow, I didn't realize I could do this at 47, 48. Like,
Yeah.
geez, man, I feel pretty good with this.
We call it preventive maintenance, right, Joe? Preventive maintenance.
That's exactly what it is. Preventative. Yeah. Preventative health.
And
sure.
something that I say all the time, and people don't know this, right? So if you're not taking anything, you're not watching your hormones at all, and you're like, I don't care about my testosterone, and that might be that's suited for you. But if that estradiol, that estrogen that's in the body, no hormone, the body don't like any hormone so elevated, right? So when that estrogen is up in that 100 mark, 110 mark, very bad on our prostates.
Even in the high 2 digits, it's bad.
It's bad.
It's
yes.
bad. I mean, I was on a hunting trip for like 14 days, and took my testosterone, didn't bring my blockers, and man, I could feel it. Like I was just like everything just hurt, and I was just lethargic. And I mean, to have elevated estrogen, man, I would rather have low testosterone than elevated estrogen any day of the week.
It's brutal on the body, and I always tell everybody, you better watch that, because it's especially as men with our prostates, we know that's a weak spot for us. It could be, right? And when any hormone's too much, back in my bodybuilding days when guys are taking 1,000 milligrams of testosterone a week, 1,500, and their blood work's coming back in the 3,000 range, the first thing anybody's doctor better be saying, we want to check your prostate, and not just from the PSA blood. We want to go up and feel around in there, because that's very important,
well,
guys.
The other side of it too is that, like, your general practitioner is only doing a CBC and cop metabolic panel, right, Joe? It's like 1 page of blood work.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and then if you commit to, the couple $100 per year to get an extensive panel done, the thing with the CBC and comp metabolic that people don't understand is that they do that to see if anything is elevated on there, because it's like a real baseline, right? But there's a lot of things that could be missed not running a full panel like we run at Core. For instance, do me a favor, if you're under the age of 45, let me know if it says PSA anywhere on that blood work your GP does. It doesn't.
Yeah.
They don't check your PSA. We do. We've caught over 40 cases of prostate cancer in men under the age of 40 in the last decade. And that person wouldn't even know they had it until they were 45 or 50 years old.
Yeah.
Along with even the small things like elevated estrogen from the food that we eat that Mel talks about all the time, Joe. Like, it's not an even playing field out there anymore. Like you and I were kids, Joe, and Mel was kids. Mel said yesterday, and I started to laugh, these kids ain't drinking out of a fucking hose anymore. They're not in the front yard playing, running around.
No, we're in a fight.
And the thing is, people don't realize, people don't realize how interrelated a lot of this blood work stuff is that you miss with just that one small sheet that your GP would do. Like, they don't understand quite how everything plays into, you manipulate one little thing with a diet, and you got to watch that this thing doesn't, just like you said, with your estrogen and your PSA, and if they're not looking at that and they're not putting all the pieces of the puzzle, if you're not playing with all the pieces of the puzzle, it's hard to get a big picture of what you're really looking at.
One thing
you guys do a phenomenal job with that.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Joe.
Thank you. One thing, and I like to tell everybody, I see them in the travels, and they say, "Hey, Mel, I want to come over and be a patient for Core Medical and get testosterone replacement. Is that cool?" And I'm like, "Yeah, if you're eligible for it, we're going to see when you do the blood. You might be picture perfect, or you might have something else wrong with you, like where you're not going to get testosterone replacement if you got a crazy prostate number. Your prostate's enlarged, right? Our doctors ain't doing that. It's first and foremost, it's health here. It's health, and I tell them guys that, for the cheap price we charge for that 28 panel blood pull, it's worth the peace of mind to come in and see that. I had a guy, I always remember, this is probably 5 years ago, but I had a 68-year-old guy. He came in and he was like the poster child for feeling great in testosterone. I come back and I'm like, "Man, brother," I think his name was Ray. I go, "Man, Ray, your overall testosterone 680. You know what I mean? You're almost 70 years old. Like I'm 200 without any help. You know what I mean? Like you're doing great. And for that cheap price, he just got a great clean bill of health and went on to take some nutraceuticals through us, some, amino acids and stuff because he's still trained. But it's like, where are you getting that? That's a $1,400 test because no insurance companies are jumping on the bandwagon for that, right?
I mean, hey, you know what it is? It's your Netflix subscription for a month over a 6-month period of time.
Yeah.
And man, you're talking about your health. This is not, I look at that and I go, that's a very small amount of money for, if anything, the knowledge or the peace of mind that what you're doing on a daily basis and the ability to be able to change that daily routine and affect your overall, man, I want to be around long enough to be a menace to people. I mean, that's kind of
too late, Joe.
Kind of my
too
deal,
late, dude. Too late, brother.
I don't want to say that because I've been a menace to people for a long time. I want to stick around much farther than that.
How about this
Joe.
one, Joe? I'm on a Zoom call last night with Cody's patients, and they're up there all hanging out, and I get off the Zoom call, and I'm like, it's like 7 o'clock at night. I'm like dead, right? And Mel, as soon as I walk in the door, he points at this box and goes, "Hey, you better open that up. It's gonna melt right there, and put it in your freezer." Meanwhile, it's been sitting there the whole time I've been in the Zoom call, and he knows where my freezer is. So he puts me right back to work right when I finish the Zoom call. I'm looking at him. I'm like, dude, come on, man.
It was the frozen dog food.
It was the frozen dog food that he turned me on to, right? And he comes to my house and just tells me what to do like the whole fucking time.
My wife just looked and laughed. She's like, "Babe," I was laughing. Joe, I got to ask you this now, getting back on track, because you are our auctioneer.
Yes, sir.
For our military appreciation weekend that we do every year, right? And we just had our 3rd annual one, and I mean, them things are amazing. I love them. That's so special to me. Of course, Sydney, the whole team, but to me, that's the getaway, man. For me, I can come there and just be me and laugh and joke and talk with everybody. So, that's how I got to know you from year one. And of course, you do an amazing job, man. You get people that went there like, I didn't really think I was going to bid on anything, and then you just brought it right out of them. And then we get in the bidding wars, which I was in myself a few years ago for the Mayans.
Well, the best
patch.
one was me and my wife.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was the best, right? Remember, Joe? They're bidding.
And I still remember your comment on that where you were like, "Hell, I could go back to the Hells Angels
and get my own patch back, right? For that money."
My own patch back.
I stopped at $4,500. I tapped out. I said, for $4,500, I just joined the club and get my old patch back. Right? But you get to interact and see all the people, right? And everybody knows you, and the first thing they say, was Big Joe coming? Yeah, he's coming and stuff. So, tell us a little bit about that, of how that is for you, and in them weekends, and the fellowship we see, and the new people that you meet every year, right? And the friends that we become and stuff. It's just so cool, right, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, people talk about the family atmosphere, and you have to experience, because that's exactly what it feels like. I mean, you're at Sid's house. You've got, I keep in touch with a lot of people from the Core Medical military appreciation weekends, and it's a very small part of what I can do to help, honor the military. I have a lot of friends in the military, past and present, and to help you guys, because you guys have really changed my life, made me physically better, which was able to, everybody goes through little rough patches. And when I first kind of joined in, mentally wasn't where I wanted to be, with stuff going on, but I mean, helped out immensely. And that little part that I do is just my way of saying, thank you guys. I appreciate the help you've given to me, and, give back any way I can,
Yeah.
I mean, the crazy part is, Joe, is like, you are so good at it. It's like, I look forward to like that time. The speakers are great, but like Joe really, he really drops the hammer.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the funnest part, Joe. The auction part, right? Because we work hard all through the year to get the raffle items up, right? And as we got into this 3rd year, I said to Sid, he FaceTimed me one time, because I'm 3 hours away, living 3 hours away from him, and I said, your office is full of stuff like that already. We still got months out, right? And he goes, Mel, it's so amazing, man. So many people are jumping on the bandwagon and giving us stuff to auction off because they know where it's going to, where we give all them proceeds go. This year it went to 3 charities, right? And,
And plus we paid for, I think we're at like 55 vets that could not afford hormones. We do about 100 a year through our foundation. Then we did Boxes of Hope, which is the foundation Mel supports. Then John Morris's son.
Yep.
And then we did, who was the other foundation this year?
We did 3. Did we do 4 or 3?
Three. Yeah.
I think we split that up in 3.
And it's great when you have a vet calling, like, would you take insurance? And you can tell, our onboarding specialists just know that someone's going through it, or, a Jason Redman or a Nick K or a Mel or a Rocco or even a Dave calls and says, hey, this guy's in a tough spot. Joe, 80% of those people after being on testosterone for 1 year for free can afford it the following year. 80%. 80%, their mentality changes, their life changes, their goals change, they're employable now. They're not in this massive depression on all these VA drugs anymore. It's wild. Like, I wouldn't do it if it didn't work. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just great, And man, that event just keeps getting better and better, and it actually gets easier and easier each year, even though there's more and more and more people. It gets easier and easier because of the support from everybody.
Well, I got to tell you, Joe, Sid goes up there. Not only is he putting this together, from year to date, that's like me with the bodybuilding shows. You're promoting them from the day after they stop, right? He's doing that. But he goes up there that week of, that Saturday, of the prior, the weekend before with the team. They're setting up everything. They're doing everything. So he gets burnt out, right? I'll talk to him. He's like, oh, man, I'm dying. So I said to him after this one, listen, maybe next year we don't do it at your personal home. We go to a hall. Like, remember, Joe, we did the first time. We had that rented out, that spot, the hotel and stuff. and then he goes, not happening. He goes, we made it such a personal thing here in the home, and everybody feels comfortable. We got everything set up the way we wanted to do it. And I go, you know what? You're right about that. It would take that feel away. I go, Sid, what are we going to do when there's 1,000 people that want to come to this, right? So, we're always going to have to send a little bit of a cap off being in Sid's backyard, even though it's huge out there. But, there's so many people that want to come and be a part of it in them weekends and stuff. So that's like, I think that's...
No, we could have had easily 600 people last year. We capped it at 250. We had 274. Just because it's not intimate after that.
No, you're right.
And we have a list of people that didn't get to go last year that will get the first invite this year, and so on and so forth. But so Joe, do me a favor. Talk to the audience out there, because I know you're driven and just like on point. On top of the hormones, talk to the audience out there about like how important it is to have like a daily schedule, because I always talk about this on this podcast, like a daily schedule, staying in routine along with staying consistent with your overall health. I know that you have a very good routine. I know that you still do things to make you uncomfortable with physical exertion and things like that. What type of things would you suggest to those guys out there that are getting older and kind of coming off the gas?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's routine is everything. And the good, one of the main things is, being on a program with Core, you're getting your blood work right, you're feeling better. It's a lot easier to get into a routine when you're feeling like it. When you're depressed, you're tired, you're sore, you got inflammation, you don't want to do that. But definitely the routine of getting up, and I mean, I get up at 5:30 every day. I do something either at the gym, or I just grab some kettlebells, a rower, and I got a big rock in my backyard. I walk around. I know the people dropping their kids off to school, because I live on the way to a school, are probably looking at me like, what's this guy doing? But
you got a big rock.
It's a daily thing. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And I always tell people that's the hardest part of my day. The rest of this stuff's easy. I mean, I've mentally, gotten up and got into a routine. I physically gotten into a routine. I physically got my body warmed up, mentally prepared myself for the day. By the time I finish my workout, get a little breakfast, and I get to work, I mean, that's the hardest part of my day. This stuff that I'm doing here is just occupying the rest of the day, grinding out, doing my job. But definitely the routine, and it's one of those things. It's really hard to convey to people how important that is. But I dare say, if you do it for 2 or 3 weeks,
Yeah.
you will absolutely 100% see the benefits of having that routine and of having something every day to get up and look forward to doing. We only get one ride, and I want to enjoy it until the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things. I think if they get into a routine, that absolutely it'll change their life. I mean, it just does. The exercise, the feelings that you gain from that, mentally, knowing that you got up, you knocked something out that maybe you didn't want to do. It's raining outside, it's cold outside. I didn't like jumping in my pool in the middle of December down here when the water was 51 degrees. But at the end of my workout, that was just a mental thing I did. Uh, just to be like, hey, this is something hard. It's not,
It's not going to kill you.
not it's not a life threatening thing. It's just a difficult thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny how down the road that pays dividends to life, to work, to your relationships. You're not running at the first sign of something doesn't feel right, and you're just like, man, I don't want to deal with it. And you run away from it. You tend to start meeting stuff head on, and take care of the problems before they bloom into something huge. And it really is a benefit.
The old term, remember, the body in motion stays in motion, right? Inactivity kills. My dad was a very bad diabetic, and my mother kept him alive for many, many more years than he probably should have been because, he had to retire at the age of 55. He had his first stroke. He was a diabetic since he was, 20. So, the insulin in the bloodstream, it's hard on you. But she kept him moving on the treadmill. His nickname was Kitty. She'd say, Kitty, get down there and get on the treadmill. And he'd walk on the treadmill at like a mile an hour just because he had the stroke. But his body was moving. The blood was moving. It wasn't docile. And I tell everybody, whether don't be stuck on the couch. Get up, walk yourself around the living room. Start that way. Then start going out into your backyard. Walk up and down the driveway. You know what I mean? And if you're young and you're inactive, well, then, I'm just going to say shame on you. If you're a young adult, even at my age, I say I'm old. I'm not 55 years old. Me and Sid laugh, Joe, all the time. We go, we got a game plan. In 5 years, we're going to call it a day. But we ain't calling it a day on anything because he can't sit around and I can't sit around, So, you got to keep going. And like you said, Joe, just push yourself. And that doesn't mean to go push yourself to get into a gym and be some kind of crazy athlete. Push yourself to get off the couch. Push yourself to move around. Inactivity kills.
And I said this the other day, Joe, like all my friends get their blood work done. All my circle, like every single one of them, and because they see the benefit from it, right? And if one of my boys I see like isn't showing up at the gym, or I see getting a little lazy or coming off the gas, I'm a good friend because I'm fucking brutally honest. And if you don't like it, you're not going to be in my circle, right? Like I remember, our very good, amazing mutual friend. I think he had you do a ruck like a year and a half or 2 years ago. And a week before he calls me, he's
My
like,
50th birthday.
yeah, for your 50th birthday. A week before Dave calls me, he's like, Joe's trying to get the fuck out of this thing. and he said it just like that. Joe's trying to get the fuck out of this thing. It's fucking not happening. It's just not happening.
Well, the funny thing was I had jacked my ankle up years ago, and I got 2 ligaments that are gone, and I was just trying to do this ruck, and it was just, man, I kept getting this stuff, and I had a feeling that he was going to call me out prior to, because we were supposed to do it on my birthday, which was the 14th, and of course that was like I don't know, it was like Wednesday or Thursday of that month, and Monday I get a telephone call, while I'm at work, and he's like, "Hey, so time to get off work." And I was like, "Around 5." He goes, uh, "We start walking at 1,800 hours." And I was like, "Oh, it's so funny that you said that." I was like, "I just happened to have all my stuff packed in the car because I knew he was going to call me out on that."
He's
So
he's
And that
never
was,
late, that guy.
no.
yeah. And the cool thing was that it's funny is I laugh about it and stuff, and me and him still joke about it. That was like a mental turning point for me, because that was something uh, that was very difficult for me. Um, that it's you throw on a 60-pound rucksack and walk 12 miles in 3 hours. I mean, that's at 50 years old, and I was weighing like 270 something and change at the time.
Oof.
Um, that was tough. And and that's another thing, being with core. When I started, I was almost 290, 287, something like that. Um, and just couldn't, with having everything, uh, the blood work just all messed up. Man, I couldn't,
Lose weight.
for the longest time, I was trying to lift, and I was in the 275 weight class, and I'm going to these meets at 262, 263, because I couldn't add that size unless I was just eating an enormous amount of crazy food. But then, of course, you get older, and then it was like, okay, well, here's that weight. I'm not going to let go of
Yeah,
it. So
metabolism stops. It's
Yeah.
yeah,
hard.
bloody. And
Cortisol.
that's exactly what it was. That is exactly what it was. And it was getting, from the suggestions from the PA, getting my sleep right, um, and diet. I dropped my cholesterol 100 points without statins,
Amazing.
Awesome.
down to I was 252 this morning, and not doing ton of cardio. I do some mountain biking. I still do a lot of rucking, but nothing like, I'm not sitting there. I'm not doing half marathons like you guys are, which was insane.
Listen, Brandon ran that half marathon with me at 280 or 275 or whatever he is. And
I,
I mean, I did it in like 2 minutes, 2 hours, like 3 minutes. And as far as I'm concerned, Brandon beat me, and he finished 20 minutes after me, because can you imagine? He legitimately ran with an additional 100 pounds than I ran it at 182. I'm 196 right now. I lost so much weight training for it because I decided to start training, 6 weeks before the race, like an idiot, right? So, and then I just like tried to drop as much weight, did everything possible. But Brandon ran. I was so proud of him coming through.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big boy, dude.
Bro, I've been that weight, so I know that that's a lot, on your body, your joints. I told him
He didn't stop running one time.
Yeah,
he did not
I
stop
know.
running.
I called him the following week, and I said, "Hey man," I was like, "How long did you train for that?" He goes, 2. And I go, "Like 2 months?" He goes, "No, I ran twice."
He ran twice,
And
dude.
I go, "You ran twice and then just decided to run a half marathon?" He goes, "Yeah."
Hey,
I
dude,
was like,
it was. I was running twice a week, and I had a schedule from a buddy, Mike Harrow, and I followed. But like, it wasn't like the most we ran was 7 miles. And the guy calls me up. He's like, "Did you finish the 7?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "How long did it take?" I go, "An hour and 10 minutes." He goes, "You're ready for the race?" I go, "How the fuck is that possible? The race is 13 miles." He goes, "You're good. You just don't know what you don't know." And it was just an amazing experience to do with those guys and girls. Kaylin ran it, and I haven't felt that physically accomplished in a long time. And it was just something that I think is very important for people to do, uncomfortable things like that. And it shows others, like, man, if you're sitting on the sofa not doing anything, and this guy's running a half a marathon, and you want to be successful, and you want to have a good group of friends, and you want to do all these other things, you better be doing shit that makes you uncomfortable, because it's just part of the equation.
Yeah.
You know?
And just think mentally what that, you like, I did that 12 miles, and I got done, and like the next day, man, I'm still jacked up about it, because I was like, man, that's something, when football ended, and the Highland Games and all that stuff, and you don't really have anything to train for and push for, it was really nice to have that validation that, what's it? I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was.
Yeah.
Like, I'm able to pull that trigger if needed. Like, I can do that. And that just opened so many doors for me, physically, mentally, professionally, because I was always a paralysis by analysis kind of guy. And, now it's just, hey, take one step, figure it out. Take a second step, figure it out.
Right.
And you just keep chugging away. And, you take piece by piece, and pretty soon, you're miles ahead of where you were.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Well, I guess we've accomplished quite a bit here today.
Yeah, we're rocking on the hour mark. I'm looking and seeing it.
Exactly.
Today. We knew we were going to talk to Big Joe for a hot minute here.
Yeah,
we set that aside.
There's so much we didn't get to talk about, but we'll have him on again for sure. And both you guys are someone I definitely look up to 100%, and really grateful for the two of you guys in my life on my birthday. Joe, thank you for taking the time. I know you're at work today. And I know you probably could have sold 15 cars in this last hour. But send me a bill. I appreciate you. I love you, brother. I'm grateful for I'm grateful for our common friend for putting us together. And man, does he have a way of finding good people, that dude.
He does.
So there he does.
I'm grateful for you, Joe and Mel. Always. I love you to death,
Sid.
dude.
We love you. Happy birthday again.
Yes, sir. Happy birthday, brother.
All right, Big Joe. We are out, brother. Love you, pal.
All right. Love you guys. Y'all take care, brother. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye, guys.
All right. Bye.